Good morning, Naftali.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rav Moshe.
Okay.
Good morning.
Is there any word from Rabbi Smith?
He posted on the chat that he was going. Sure.
That he was coming?
Yeah. 5:14.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's not getting any easier.
Yeah. Okay. So yesterday we got up to Huad Beves Shoel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're on 40B.
Mhm.
Yeah. In the middle of the page. Oh. Yay. Okay. Want to use my phone or? Okay. Okay.
Good
Morning.
Good morning, Rabbi Smith.
Morning. Just give me 1 minute.
Well, I did my best.
You're great.
You didn't just do your best, you did darn well. And thank you for your time and effort.
It was, they say any of these things are like a muscle. You got to practice. You got to work those muscles, right?
Well, that's true, but you put in the effort. You did it. So thank you.
Baruch Hashem.
And it wasn't easy material.
No, very, very complicated to keep the head straight without losing the pieces. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Oh, good.
Moshe, it's good you went to yeshiva.
It helps.
You wouldn't have been able to pull that off. Okay.
Welcome back. We were all concerned.
Thank you. Thank you.
But Moshe did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. Okay. What else I thought
Oh, man.
I think we're holding on Mem and Bez.
Yeah. What?
Who would be Bez Shoyal? It's like
right.
really in the middle of the page.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. It's just about learning. We should have the Beit Hamikdash. Shukaf to Moshe for taking over. You impressed, Sean?
Mm-hmm.
You impressed with your father? Got nachas?
Finally.
Okay. So we had it in the Bryce. Let me see. We had in the Bryce. We are. What was it? There was an owner of an ox that then lends the ox to someone else. So yeah, it turned out that it was a muad. Or the other case. So in that case, when it turned out that it was a muad, wants the original owner to pay half of it. So the watchman pays for half the damages, as if it was a tam, and the original owner pays the other half because it was really a muad. He didn't tell him that. Then we had another case. He lends it to him, and it's a tam, but it gores 3 times in the owner under the possession of the shimer, of the guard, of the watchman. Then he returns it back. And when he returns it back, it causes damage, and we said that the owner has to pay half. So apparently, when it goes back, that's a new volume, right?
Yeah.
When it goes back, when it goes back, it becomes a tam again. So there's a bit of a contradiction here, because when it changes ownership, when it changes a position from the original owner to the watchman, it seems like it retains the muad status that it had, and when he returns it, it's as if it goes off. Anyway, so let's take a look at how the Gemara analyzes this. Who would be beishayel v'chziru l'bailim? Let's say it becomes a muad under the jurisdiction in the household of the borrower, and then he returns it back. The halacha is bailim mishal and chatzi nezek. The shayel patim miklum. The owner has to pay. The owner has to pay half the value, which is chatzi nezek, and the shayel is exempt. The borrower is exempt from everything. It didn't cause damage in his property right now. That he took care of before. Kumar says Seifa Rishus Mishana, Reisha Rishus Eina Mishana. Comes out now is according to this second case in the Brisa, Rishus Mishana. If it changes
Ownership.
it's not just ownership, it's if it changes
Its location.
right.
But it's where they held.
Rabbi, in the case that the borrower wasn't made aware that the ox was a muad, that's one of the reasons that they give for the owner to pay half of the damage, and the borrower doesn't want to pay. But in this case, it doesn't say whether the borrower told the owner that it became a muad or not.
Right. Whether he did or whether he didn't, it goes back and he's not a muad.
So we hold like Reb Meir and Simchus, that every time that it changes like domain,
That's what it looks like.
reverts.
That's what it looks like according to this. There's just Mashana. Yeah. Rabbi Yechanan he answers this. Rishus Mashana means that when it changes responsibility of who's supposed to be watching it, then it loses its muad status. It goes back to being a tame animal. Rabbi Yechanan says Tavra. You have to break that brisa in half. And Misha Shanazu le Shanazu. And you have to say that the one that teaches the first half didn't teach the second half. The one that taught the second half didn't teach the first half, because it doesn't fit together. Rabba says, no, that was Rabbi Yechanan's explanation. But Rabba says, Midrash Rishus Eina Mishana, Sefer Namar Rishus Eina Mishana. It's not true. It has to be consistent. And since it was a muad by the owner, so therefore it's a muad by the shomer. So if it's a muad by the shomer, it has to be a muad by the owner. The Seifa in the time, so what's the reason why he only has to pay half in the Seifa? It gored 3 times. It says, Mishum Darmalei Lavkal Kaminach the Madis Leila Terai. He says, really, if it would actually be a muad, it would switch places, it would switch homes, so it would remain a muad. The only thing is, you're not capable of turning my ox into a muad. The reason is because you don't watch it the way that I would watch it. Give it back to me, I'll watch it properly. It's not really a muad. It's not muad, it's just because of the it's what the parent says about the teacher. My child is really a great student. I don't know what's going on in your classroom, but you know. Therefore, he's saying it's not really a muad. It's not a muad at all. He just didn't know how to watch it. Or a papa says the other way. Mida Sefer Rishus Mishana, Reishanami Rishus Mishana. It's exactly the opposite. Really, every time it returns back, it really loses its muad status. So 1 second. So why in the other case did we say that when it became a muad by the original owner and then it borrowed it, that he has to pay half and he pays the other half? It looks like it's a muad. Over there, it never actually leaves the jurisdiction of the original owner. It's always called by the original owner's name. That's so-and-so's ox. So therefore, even though there was someone else that was responsible for it, but it still is considered the original owner. So if it's not considered like it changed location. Yeah. Yeah. And this great aunt that would tell us that we have to behave because everyone knows that we're Smiths.
Woo! Rabbi, the example that it gave was like a minor child that became an adult. Like it was not even it was like the 3 examples. The imbecile, like the deaf mute and the
Right.
that
Right.
when any of those categories would change, the ox would change also.
Right. Right. And that was that a machlekes or was that
Yeah, Rameir and Simchas hold that every time that it changed, it would revert.
yeah.
It would-
Chazalit Musa was Reb Meir's opinion, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, are you asking that according to this? No, we're just saying that it's always on. That's not a question on this because we're saying that the Mishnah is going to follow Reb Meir according to Reb Papa. The only thing is over here, it's never changing. It's never changing position because it's always by the owner. Yeah. Now the Gemara says Sharet Stadin. We're quoting Sharet Stadin was like a bullfighting. What do they call the ox? Not the matador. Was the matador the guy or the ox?
It's
The guy. Is there a name for the ox?
Bull.
Okay.
That was original.
So it says that this ox is not chayav misa. You know, normally if an ox kills a man, the ox gets put to death, right? Over here it doesn't get put to death, and the reason is because the people are what rates done. They got it excited. It wasn't really that's such a dangerous ox. It's just that they keep making it. They put the red flag in front of it till it goes crazy. So Ibailahu Malagabe Mizbeach. It's a question they had in the yeshiva. Are you allowed to shech this animal? You killed a person. So you're allowed to bring it as a sacrifice. So it doesn't have the same laws as the other as regular shara niskal that you have to put it to death and you can't have benefit from it. It doesn't have that halacha. But what about bringing it as a korban? So Rav Amar Kosher, Shmuel Amar Pasal. Rav says it's kosher. Shmuel says it's pasal. Rav Amar Kosher, Anasu. Rav says it's kosher. It's totally not in its what was it, Shalom? Unpreventable circumstance. It's totally unpreventable circumstance. Shmuel Amar Pasal Harei Nevad by Avera says it doesn't matter preventable or not preventable. The fact is an Avera was done, so it should not be used as a sacrifice. Meisvei, it's a good machlekes. It's logic for each side. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. It says Minam Behema, quoting the pasuk that talks about karbanos. It says you bring a carbon from the animal. This would be a male animal that lives with a human female. Besanirva, this is a human female that lives with a male animal. Minabakar, from cattle, it says each one of these psukim says from. From is coming to tell me it's only from, but not all. So it's coming to leave out some animal which is not acceptable on the altar. In a bucket from the cattle, that's excluding an animal that was worshipped as an idol. We'll bow down to that animal. Minatzain from a sheep, this is coming to exclude an animal that was designated to be used as a sacrifice for an idol. Minatzain from the sheep, it's coming to exclude an animal that gored another person and killed him. Now, that animal would be put to death. But it's saying if for whatever reason, even if the animal wasn't put to death, so then nevertheless he can't use it as a sacrifice. Well, that's already a kasha on Rav, because we have a negeach there. Amar Reb Shimon says, since any animal that an aveira was done with it is not acceptable, so why do we need these two examples? One that bestiality was committed, or one that killed a human. The same prohibition. They shouldn't be used as sacrifices. The Gemara answers. Reb Shimon says, Reb Shimon ben Yochai, each one has a certain criteria, a certain characteristic which the other one doesn't have. For example, Reveya Sabainus Karatzin. Now, by the Reveya, that means that an animal lived with a human. That's talking about there would be a difference between a male animal versus a female animal. The female animal would be considered against the animal's will, versus the male animal sounds like it's willingly. That's the way it sounds like. So the Reveya versus the Nirva. The Reveya, which is the male animal, is Einus Karatzin. That's done willing. That's the same halacha if it's a male animal. It's the same halacha if it's a female animal. So Einus and Ratzin, unpreventable or preventable or willingly, is the same halacha. Negeach, when it comes to the goring, Einus Karatzin, you did not make Einus Karatzin. Are we thinking Einus Karatzin? Einus would mean Sharet Stadin, the bullfight ox. And it's not the same like if it wasn't a bullfight ox. We're going to assume that what's going to happen is that a bullfight ox, that ox is allowed to be brought as a sacrifice. And now another thing. Negeah b'shalom kaifer. On the other hand, the negeah has to pay if it kills a human. But the one that committed bestiality, that does not have to pay anything. The owner doesn't have to pay. The people get put to death. The animal gets put to death, but there's no payment. That's where you need to have both. Now, Katani Mias. Nevertheless, one of the things that was taught in this is that there's a difference between the Reveya, the bestiality, versus the goring. The goring one, we make a distinction between if it was done on purpose, if it was done by with unpreventable circumstances. My hilchasa, what difference is there in halacha? It says la'av lekarban. It must be the difference is for a karban that you're allowed to bring it as a sacrifice if it's a sharet stadim, it's a raya, it's a rav, it's a kasha and shmuel. Gemara says light. That's not what the brisa meant. Brisa meant liktala. We're talking about if you put it to death. Sharet stadim, the bullfight ox, does not get put to death. Nochinam mistabra. It's also logical. The yamat lekarban, because if you would say it's talking about bringing it as a sacrifice, negech la yasa bainis karatzin. You see, if it would have said, anything that would have taught me that maybe it's only an einus, maybe it's only baratzin, maybe this, then I could have said that it makes it einus karatzin or it doesn't make it einus karatzin. But if you don't mention anything, I have no allusion to even saying that there's any distinction between if it's done intentional or unintentional. So then why did you even say that it doesn't make the einus karatzin? There was no einus, there was no ratzin. Didn't say anything about goring, but regarding a sacrifice. It just said goring. An animal that gores is prohibited. But you see, by the Roiva in the Nirva, it says a male and a female. And I can say that maybe one would have been this, one would have been Einus, one would have been Ratzin, and we make that comparison. But here you have no Einus or Ratzin even that's even mentioned. So obviously the only time that you would have a distinction between Einus and Ratzin is only when it comes to the actual goring of a bullfight, where you don't have to put it to death.
Right.
Because over there you really have that distinction. Okay, if that's the case, then it takes us back where it seems like we don't have any proof to one way or the other. Okay, Amar Mar. Master taught Nageach Mishalim as a Kaifer that if it gores, it has to pay Kaifer. That's one of the things that we mentioned that would have been a distinction between the goring versus the bestiality. Why both of those things are prohibited as a sacrifice. It says if it gores, it has to pay Kaifer. Reveya, but if it commits bestiality, an animal lives with a human. It does not pay kaifer. The Gemara says, "Hey, Chidami, what are you talking about? That it doesn't pay kaifer? What exactly was the case? You don't have the case set up perfectly. Ilema the Rav of the Katla. Are we talking about that it like sort of like raped a human and it killed her? Mali Katla Bakana, Mali Katla Baravia. What's the difference if it gored it with a horn, or if it lived with it and it squished it probably? So what's the difference? If it killed the animal, it killed not killed the animal. If it killed a human, so it killed a human, it should be the same problem. Ella the Rav of Katla must be. We're talking about that it didn't kill the human. Didn't kill the human. So why are you mentioning kaifer? Right. The fact that you tell me it doesn't pay kaifer is not because of Rava, because it didn't kill it. Her. Amar Abaya says, "Leilam the Rav Katla." Really, we're talking about that it didn't kill it, but that's you the Beidin of a Katlua, but it got killed by the court. Mal the Tame command the Katla Dami. I could have thought that it caused it to get killed. You should have to pay the price of kaifer, whatever that is. That we'll see on this page. Kamash Malana, you don't have to pay it. Rava says, "Leilam the Rav Katla." Really, we're talking about where it lived with the human and it actually killed a human. Kashlach malikatla bekanaya malikatla beravia. What's the difference? What part of the body it's the animal body it used to kill it? Karen kavanas lahazik, hai kavanasa lanas atzmehu. The difference is that this didn't intend to kill. This intended for its own enjoyment, and it ended up killing the woman probably. So that's why there's no kefil. But my pligi, what's the machlekes? We're asking now, what's the machlekes between the two ways of learning this Gemara? I have a Baya that says that it did not kill the human. I have Rava that says that it did kill the human, and nevertheless there's no kaifer. It says like this: the regal shedarsal gabi tinik b'chatzar nizik. The difference would be if there was an animal that trampled on a child in the domain of the child, of the victim. Labayim Shalom Kaifer. You see, it didn't intend to kill. It just happened to trample on it. So according to Abaya, you have to pay Kaifer because Kavanasai Lahazik was not so significant. Rava was the one that said that there would only be Kaifer if it intended to cause the damage. According to Abaya, the reason why there was no kaifer because it didn't kill. But if it did kill, even if its intention wasn't to kill, intention was just for its own enjoyment, still there would be kaifer. So Abaya, according to Abaya, there would be kaifer. Rava leimashalim kaifer, but according to Rava, because it did not intend to cause damage, it just happened to trample on it, on the child. So there would not be kaifer there because there's only kaifer when it's intended to cause the damage. Tanikava say the Rav. We have a raya that supports Rav that says that a sharha tzadin, the bullfight ox, is allowed to be brought as a sacrifice. Because it was compelled, it was forced, and it's not its fault. You can't blame the animal for that. It's still acceptable as a sacrifice. Mishnah says, if an ox scores a man and it dies, it's only a muad that has to pay kaifer. Has to have goren 3 times, and then it gores again, then it would pay kaifer. Pay kaifer is the payment that you pay to the family of the victim. But it doesn't matter if it's a tam or if it's a muad. Both of them, the ox gets put to death. V'chein beben, v'chein bebas. The same thing as if it's a child. It doesn't matter if it's an adult or a child. The same thing applies. That there's a death penalty that goes on the ox that kills a human. Let's say you gored a slave. So then, nice and slashim shkalim, you have to pay the 30 coins. Doesn't matter its actual value, whether it's worth 100 coins, whether it's worth only 1 coin. The same halacha applies. 30 coins payment to the owner. Gemara says, the Gemara asks quite an obvious question. Every time an animal gores a human, it's put to death. If it gores 3 times a human, then it has to pay kaifer. The Gemara asks, how did it survive
How did he get to
the death penalty the first 3 times? To pay the kaifer on the 4th time. It was supposed to be put to death the first time. How to get to the 2nd time to the 3rd time?
Good lawyer.
I'm sorry? A good lawyer, right? I'm a Rabbah. Rabbah gives us our first answer. Didn't actually kill the first 3 people, but it sure gave them a run for their money, and chased them around the town and trying to gore them. And if they wouldn't have escaped and they jumped up onto a fire escape, then they would have been killed. So it's considered a muad, and has to pay kaifer for the 3rd time. Rav Ashi Amar umden alav klomu. It says that.
Don't you always pay kofar if your ox kills someone else? Like you paid the value of the person that
Right.
Passed away.
Right.
So
There
I
was
don't know if that's
a
considered
Rav Yossi Aglili that said that a tam pays half kaifer.
kofar.
But our mission is not following Rav Yossi Aglili. Our mission is saying that a muad pays kaifer, a tam doesn't pay kaifer.
Okay.
Yeah. Rav Ashi says umden alav klomu. Your estimation that it would have killed the person and this and that makes it into a muad. That's not counted. Okay. According to Rav Ashi, we jumped from Rabbah to Rav Ashi. He put 3 people in the hospital, and they're in the hospital. They're on the deathbeds. And then it gores 1 more time and it kills. And then, actually, what would happen is that all 3 die. All the 3 people die, and then immediately it goes and gores the 3rd person. So it becomes the muad, the 4th one. It becomes the muad right after they all died. We couldn't kill the ox before because they were still in the hospital. All right. It killed 3 animals. You don't kill an animal if it kills another animal. So it was a muad for animals. The Gemara asks, muad behema b'muad l'adam. A muad for an animal is muad for a person. That's not how it works. Maybe only animals, of course. It's not a muad for a person. It killed 3 non-Jews. The 3 non-Jews, maybe it didn't get put to death. If it's a muad for non-Jews, is it automatically a muad for Jews? Maybe it only gores people that have certain symbols hanging from their neck, and it doesn't gore the Jewish stars. Is that a footnote? No.
No.
Elam Rab Shimon ben Lakish. I think Rab Shimon ben Lakish. It killed 3 people that were going to be dying anyway. They were attached to their what's it called? Life support machines. So the Gemara is muad l'shreifa b'muad l'shalim. Is that how it works? A muad for shreifa, maybe it only gores people that are attached to life support machines. Doesn't like the beeping sounds and stuff. Elamar of Papa says the katal varak lagma, the katal varak lagma. This is the case that we probably understood before, that it should have been put to death, but it kept running away. Remember, it was wild, so it ran away to the meadow. Ravacha Breder Ravik has a great answer. He says what happened was Adam came and said that the Adam that said that it gored were actually with us, and so therefore you can't put it to death. And then the next Adam came and said that it gored, and this Adam came and said, how could you say that? You were with us. You can't, you weren't even there. So they put the whole case on hold. Then another gores again, and Adam come and say that it gored. So this other group of Adam says, how could you say that it gored? You weren't even there. You were with us. Then it gores again. And then another two sets of Adam come and say, you Adam, that you kept saying that the witnesses were with you. You were with us somewhere else. How can they say that they were with you? You weren't even there. So the Adam Zaymamin, the ones that made Adam Zaymamin, actually themselves Zaymamin. And so therefore it comes back all the original cases, and really it was considered a muad. And it all came back after these Adam, the Zaymamin got rid of the Zaymamin. Okay. So Hanich, this is all going to work out. You see, we had a machlekes earlier. Is it liyudi tura or liyudi gavra? Do you need 3 days for the ox, or do you need 3 days for the owner to be warned? Problem is over here, liyudi tura binan. If you just need to warn the ox, so then fine, accord 3 times, 3 different days. I know that when it came time to warning the owner, he only knew finally at the Zaymamin at the end. But fine, it's still considered a muad. But if you need 3 days to warn the owner, you could always say, I didn't know. I didn't have 3 days of this. It's immediately right when the Zaymamin showed up. It gored. They tell him like this. They'd say, the Zaymamin said that don't claim that you didn't know what was going on, because you were actually together with the ox every time that it gored. So your claim that you didn't know is you were the one that was supposed to know, right? Remember that story with the girl that died, and they said she's going to walk through the door. Right. Yeah. Know that story? There was a girl it was a murder trial. So they said so this guy says, the lawyer says that not only is my client innocent, but the girl herself isn't even dead. She's actually going to come through the door. In the next hour, she's going to walk through the door. So an hour later, the door opens, and everyone turns to look, and it was the bailiff who walked in. So the guy, the shamash of the court. Anyway, so the lawyer says, I just want to prove to you, I'm just going to tell you that it's not beyond reasonable doubt, because all of you obviously thought that it was possible for it to still be alive and to walk in. So you're not convinced really that my client is guilty. So therefore, the judge says guilty. I said, why? How come we had such a good case? So he said, yeah, because when everyone looked at the door, there was one person that didn't look at the door, and that was the defendant. So yeah. So here, this one guy, the owner, he's the one that was there the whole time. He has no. They didn't prep him well. Okay. Ravina says, we have another way out. Why didn't they kill the ox? Because they don't know which ox it was, but they only know the owner of the ox. So I don't know which one of your oxen it was, but I know you're guilty. So my Havalei Mevad, what was he supposed to do? You should have guarded your whole pen, your whole herd. Okay, we say in the Mishnah that no matter if it's a tam or a muad, you always have to kill the ox if it cores if it kills a human. The Brisa says like this: when it says that you have to stone the ox, so don't I know already that it's an avela if you stone it? In an avela, you're not allowed to eat. So why does the pasuk say you stone the ox and you can't eat the flesh? Of course, you can't eat the flesh. It wasn't shechted. My Galach HaKasav is coming to teach you that if someone ran over to the ox with his chalif right after the court case and shechted it, you still can't eat it even though it was shechted. I only know that you can't eat it, but maybe you can have benefit from it. It says that the owner of the ox is clean. My mashma, what does that mean? The owner of the ox is clean. It's an expression, but we say that a person so and so was clean from his possessions and he has no benefit from it. That means that you can't, not only can't you eat the ox, but you also can't have any benefit from it. Benefit would mean you can't give it as a gift, you can't feed it to the animals. How do you know that when it says you're not allowed to eat the flesh, it's talking about that you shechted it? Maybe if you shechted it, you are allowed to eat it. Maybe when it says it's coming to tell you that you can't have benefit from it. Like Rabavo taught us. The famous statements from Rabavo. We had it earlier, actually, and I think in this Masechta. Amar Rabavo says the name of Rabbi Lazar. Kol makom shenema layoicha leiseicha leiseichelo echres erachila vechres ana b'mashmat shivlacha kasuk v'dek shparach lach b'nevela leger b'nesin levcham b'mechira. Maybe when it says you're not allowed to eat it, it means you're not allowed to benefit, which Rabavo tells us in the name of Rabbi Lazar that anytime the Torah says you're not allowed to eat, can't eat. You all can eat. It's whether it's telling me that first of all you can't eat it, you also can't have any benefit. Unless the Torah tells me clearly that you're allowed to have benefits the way it does by giving a nevela to a convert. It says that to the stranger, doesn't mean a convert, it means a ger taisha, it means a citizen. To the citizen you give it, and to the non-Jew you sell it. The non-Jew you're allowed to sell it, which means you're allowed to have benefit. But if it says layoichal, that automatically means you can't have any benefit as well. So maybe what it means is that if you shechted it, you're allowed to eat it. So what does it mean you're not allowed to eat it? It doesn't mean you're not allowed to eat it. It means you're not allowed to have benefit from it after it was stoned. But maybe you're allowed to eat it if it was shechted and not stoned. It would only say la yoichal if it's coming to teach me that you can't eat and you also can't have benefit. But over here, the fact that you're not allowed to eat it is because it wasn't shechted, it was because it was stoned. It wouldn't just say that you can't have benefit from it using the word eat. Don't eat it. And don't eat it means don't have benefit. I would say don't eat it if don't eat it means don't eat it. And then I would also say that don't eat it also means don't have benefit. But if it doesn't even mean don't eat it, so then why do you say don't eat it? Should have just said don't have benefit. Just say don't have benefit. Remember that the guy, he couldn't say a shin. He would always, the Lithuanians, they say sin instead of a shin. So they said bishlaima, the word bishlaima. So he says, someone tells him bishlaima. So it was copying him, like was making fun of him. So he says, bishlaima me, I can't say bishlaima, so I say bishlaima. But you could say bishlaima. Why are you saying bishlaima? So inami, or else layoichal espesari lameli. At least maybe it should just say layoichal or layoichal. It shouldn't be eaten. What does it have to say espesari? It's coming to tell me that it's coming to teach me that even if it is shechted, it's still asr. That's what it's coming to teach me. Okay, we know that you're not allowed to eat it even if it's shechted. Maskif la Marzutra. Marzutra has a question. Maybe the only problem to have shchita, the only problem after it's shechted is if you badak tzur, you sharpened a flintstone. Not the guy with the feet under the car. Not the stone that you get the sparks out of it. You could make it very sharp, and you could use it as a knife. maybe what happened is
That's
they,
what,
right, Tzipora, right, Tzipora, that she sharpened a stone, b'shachat pai, and it's because you used it for shechita, it's as if you stoned it. So you stoned it. They happened to be exactly at the neck when you cut the throat and the thing and the shechita with the stoning. It's all the same. So you did the skila and you did the shechita, and that's why it's a problem. Davde can skila. But maybe if you never did the shechita, then you never did the skila on it because you used a blade, a metal blade. So maybe that would be kosher to eat. So you're making this distinction as if shechita is something that's with a blade versus a stone. The shechita doesn't even mention anything about this in the Torah. But Tanan, we actually have a Mishnah. You could use a flintstone. You can use even a reed. All of those is all going to be a regular shechita. So it doesn't matter what you shechted it with. It's always going to be considered that you can't eat it. Now that it says that you can't have hana from the fact that it says you can't eat it, we learned from Rebbe Vo. So what does it have to tell me that the owner goes out clean? That's talking about not the flesh, it's talking about the skin, the hide. I mean, I could have thought that I'm not allowed to benefit from the flesh, but the hide I should be able to use to make wallets and cushions and car seat covers. Kamash Malan, Balasharnaki comes to tell me that the balashar, that the owner of the ox is clean from any benefit from this. The Gemara usually doesn't do this. Those Tanoim that are going to be brought up shortly, that they say that the Balasharnaki is teaching me something else. How do they know that you're not allowed to benefit from the skin? You know, when it says the word S, it's coming to tell me the definite article, object in the pasuk. So over here, it's coming to include. Why does it? You don't really need that. It could say without the word S. That's coming to tell me something that's secondary to the flesh. What is secondary to the flesh? The skin. V'haitana es leidarish. However, our Tana doesn't darshan the word S. Now, this was a Gemara that we had before as well. Kedushin. It says, Kedetanya was taught in the Brisa, Shimon Amsuni of Amrila Nechemia Amsuni. It was either Shimon Amsuni or Nechemia Amsuni. He had a whole list. He had a whole drasha, a whole seminar on every S in the Torah.
Wasn't that Yishmael?
Rabbi Kiva comes along too. He had a whole seminar on every S in the Torah. It says what it was coming to include. When it comes to Hashem Yigad you should fear, he separated from teaching the S. He came to that one thing. He said, "Okay, guys, we have to close the PowerPoint presentation because it's there's obviously a mistake here." In my
wasn't this Rabbi Akiva?
Amalei Talmidim said, Rabbi Kalasin Shadrasim Atelem, what's going to be with all the essen? Amalei Kshem Shekribalti Schara Ladrisha Kach Kibalti Schara Laprisha. I'll get the reward for taking it all back. Achbar Rabbi Akiva, and to Rabbi Akiva came Belimed as Hashem Lekhatir, the rabbis Talmid Chachamim, coming to teach us Talmid Chachamim as well. Okay, so what we're saying is that if you're learning from Balashar Naki, then you don't darshan the S. If you do the darshan the S, then you don't learn from Balasharnaki. What do you do with Balasharnaki? So you have the following brisa. Taner Rabbanan was taught in the brisa, Balasharnaki. The owner of the ox goes out clean. Rabbi Eliezer, he doesn't have to pay chatzi kaifer. He doesn't have to pay half price for if it was a tame animal. Doesn't have to pay half the value. How is he supposed to pay it anyway? You kill the ox. You have to pay me gufay. Everything on the tame animal, you have to pay me gufay from the ox itself. You already killed it. So where are you going to get the payment from? If you what are you going to do? Bring the ox to court and you're going to pay from the dead carcass? Rabbi Lezer says to Rabbi Kiva, Kachani beinechesh dini b'sesh shechayv misa, ein dini el k'shehim es adam al pi yedech al pi bailam, al pi bailam. Rabbi Kiva, that's what you think of me? that you asked me this question that we're talking about an ox that was going to be put to death, talking about that it was only killed with one witness, so we can't put the ox to death. Nevertheless, you don't have to pay because you don't have to pay kaifer. That's what we're learning. And so how do we know that what happened? It says either the guy admitted or there was one witness. Mar says, "Help Bailam." If the guy admitted, Maida Biknasu. Of course, he doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to pay, not because Balashonaki. He doesn't have to pay because Maida Biknas is pater. If the person, his self-admittance makes him exempt from paying penalties. It says, "Kasavar kufr kapara." Behold, that kaifer is not a penalty. Kaifer is an atonement, and so therefore he should really have to pay. Tanidich, there was another brisa. Amalei Rebbe Lezer, Akiva kachani beinecha. Is this what you think of me? Shadina b'zeh shechayiv misa. That we're talking about a case where it's chayiv misa. Indin el b'miskavan arkas beim vareg adam. Talking about an animal that was intending to kill another animal, but instead it gored the wrong and it hit the person. The mitzvah vareg Yisrael wanted to kill an Egyptian, and it killed a Jew. Lenafalim v'hareg ben kayama wanted to kill a fetus that was, I guess, in its 8th month. That was like a dead end. But it ended up hitting one from the 9th month. Okay, the Gemara says, "Hi, Amar Bereisha." We have two brises. Which one actually happened first? Rav Kana made the Rav Miskaven. Amalei Bereisha. Rav Kana says the second one was first. Rav Tavimi made the Rav Amar. Hamas Amalei Bereisha. Rav Tavimi says the first one was first. Rav Kana made the Rav Miskaven Amalei Bereisha. Rav Kana says the second one was first. Mashal Tzayid Shel Dagim and Ayam says this is an example of a fisherman that's getting fish out of the sea. Mashkach Ravare Shakel. He finds big fish. Very good. He takes the big fish. Zutri finds small fish. Shakel, he takes those too. So Rav Kana that says that the second case was first, the bigger chiddush was first. Bigger chiddush was when he didn't intend to kill, and he still doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to pay kaifer because he didn't intend to kill. So we don't kill the animal. However, so that is said first. Now the other case where he says where there was no edim, so that's why we didn't kill it. So that would be the small fish. Rav Tavumish made the Rav Amar Hamas Amalei Bereisha. He says that the other case where it was the guy admitted, that's the case that he said first. Mashal aside, Shishel Dagam and Ayam. It's a case of someone that fisherman is getting fish out of the sea. Mashkach Zotri Shakel. When he has small things, he takes them. And Mashkach Ravri, when he finds the big ones, Shadi Zotri B'Shakel Ravri, he throws away the first one and he takes the big one. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Can I just read this cool note?
Yeah.
The wise fisherman takes whatever he gets. Wow. That's a great line.
Okay.
Wise fisherman takes whatever he gets. It's like a Japanese proverb.
You know, it's better to be rich and healthy than sick and poor.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
So
Let's see how I can stop the recordings. I don't know whoever's the host should enough to record.
Okay, have a good Shabbos, everyone.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sunday, regular time?
Sunday,
Jerusalem.
yeah. At the Kaiso.
Wow.
Good Shabbos, Naftali.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. You enjoying Shabbos now in North Miami Beach?
I love it. I'm
Good.
heading over there in a little bit. Make sure I get there on time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.